Welcome back to Mystery Files. For this episode, we will be going to the serene town of Hexham, England, as we explore the truly remarkable Pollock twins story. This is a tale that challenges our understanding of life, death, and the mysteries that lie beyond, and blurs the line between science and the supernatural. Now, let's dive into the story. The story begins in a small town located in the northeastern parts of England called Hexham. John and Florence Pollock met in the early 1940s. They later got married and proceeded to have two daughters together. In 1946, they had their first daughter named Joanna, and 5 years later in 1951, their second daughter was born, named Jacqueline. The couple had a small local delivery business where they worked full-time on. Even though they could not afford to spend all their time with their daughters, everyone lived happily together. However, things soon changed in a flash for the Pollocks as series of tragic and strange events start to unfold. In May 1957, this Sunday afternoon was just like any other for the Pollock family, as they prepare to head down to the local Hexham church to attend traditional mass. 11-year-old Joanna Pollock and her younger sister, 6-year-old Jacqueline, were accompanied by their friend Anthony, a 9-year-old boy, to go to church together that afternoon. Seemingly out of nowhere, a woman driving erratically struck the two girls and the boy. The sisters, Joanna and Jacqueline, were instantly killed in the crash, while Anthony died on his way to the hospital. An investigation soon followed. It was discovered that the woman was deeply tormented by despair as a result of being forcibly separated from her children, and have decided to recklessly end her own life in the car. The woman is believed to have taken lethal quantities of aspirin and phenobarbital and had entered her car with the intent of crashing it at high speed somewhere, including the 3 children she came across. Local residents of Hexham that witnessed the scene saw the woman driving dangerously through quiet streets. Her final stop was to run into a wall on the sidewalk, but unfortunately, the 3 children were walking at the same spot on their way to church, and they did not survive the crash. The case later made headlines throughout Britain, with the woman eventually taken to a psychiatric hospital. However, this story does not end here. Following the premature and sudden death of Joanna and Jacqueline, the parents, John and Florence Pollock, were devastated, but they did wish to start a family again. 1 year after the tragedy, John and Florence tried to turn a new page in their life, and fate had smiled upon them. Florence later fell pregnant, and John became increasingly convinced that their 2 girls would be reborn into the family again. The couple, both devout Catholics, frequently engaged in heated debates regarding the concept of reincarnation. Florence vehemently opposed John's beliefs. It was later disclosed that their ongoing marital discord, rooted in this difference of opinion, had grown so severe that Florence had contemplated filing for divorce. Nevertheless, there was no history of twins in either side of the parents' family, and Florence's doctor even predicted the pregnancy to be a single birth, meaning the likelihood of them being twins was very low. Remarkably, on October 4, 1958, Florence gave birth to 2 identical twin girls, whom they named Gillian and Jennifer. Despite being identical twins, they exhibited distinct birthmarks, a rather uncommon occurrence for twins. Immediately, the parents noticed an odd coincidence about the twins. Jennifer bore 2 distinct birthmarks. One, a circular dark spot on the left side of her waist, mirrored an identical birthmark that little Jacqueline once possessed. The second mark, a faintly indented blemish on her forehead just above her right eye, was an exact match to a scar Jacqueline had acquired from an accidental fall that led to a head injury. When the twins were 3 months old, the Pollocks relocated to Whiteley Bay, located in the east side of Hexham. However, as the girls grew older, it became increasingly evident that Gillian and Jennifer had an astonishingly detailed recollection of Hexham, even though they hadn't spent their formative years in the small town. Upon the family's return to Hexham, when the twins were 4 years old, Gillian and Jennifer astoundingly identified and named various landmarks they had never encountered before in their life. These landmarks included the school Joanna and Jacqueline had attended, the Hexham Abbey, and a playground that their late sisters had adored. The twins even displayed an uncanny familiarity with the route to the playground, despite never having seen it previously. What is more, the twins were also able to identify their late sister's toys by name. While Florence had kept the toys belonging to the late girls out of view in the house, but the twins began to request specific toys, almost as if they recalled them as their own. They not only named these toys using the original names they had been given, but also divided the toys just as their older sisters once had. What's more, they mentioned that these toys were gifts from Santa Claus, which was indeed accurate. Florence and John also observed that the twins displayed remarkably similar personalities compared to their late older sisters. While Joanna assumed a protective role towards her younger sibling Jacqueline, Gillian exhibited a sense of maturity beyond her years compared to her twin sister. Much like Joanna's guardianship over Jacqueline, Gillian, born 10 minutes before Jennifer, often took on the role of looking after her sister. Remarkably, the parents also observed that the twins had a shared fondness for the same games and foods as their older sisters. Despite these strange coincidences, during the first few years of the twins' lives, Florence persisted in rejecting John's assertions that the pair had been reincarnated due to her religious beliefs. However, her perspective shifted when she discovered the twins discussing the car accident. On one occasion, Florence eavesdropped as the girls engaged in a game reenacting their sister's accident. In this play, Gillian cradled Jennifer's head and said, "The blood's coming out of your eyes. That's where the car hit you." On a separate occasion, Gillian pointed at Jennifer's forehead birthmark and mentioned, "That's the mark Jennifer got when she fell on a bucket." Strangely enough, the twin girls also displayed an unusual fear of cars. During their early years, they frequently had recurring nightmares involving car accidents. Gillian and Jennifer would often become visibly distressed and anxious when in close proximity to cars. For instance, John vividly remembered an incident when a car's engine roared to life in an alleyway, and the girls instinctively clung to each other in terror, shouting, "The car is coming to get us." However, as the twins approached the age of 5, their recollections of their past lives slowly began to fade, and they transitioned to live a more normal childhood. Although the twins eventually lost all memories of the accident as they grew older, Gillian later recounted experiencing vivid visions of herself playing in a sandpit at a residence in Wickham, even though she had never been to Wickham before. Her detailed descriptions precisely matched the house and garden from Joanna's childhood home when she was 4 years old. The Pollock twins case has often been presented as evidence of reincarnation, yet it has sparked debates with suggestions that the twins' memories could have been influenced by their 4 elder brothers. Although John and Florence insist that they didn't discuss their deceased sisters with the twins until they were older, some have raised the possibility that the twins might have learned about the story from their brothers. Nevertheless, the case had attracted attention from leading researchers who want to document and study the occurrences. One such researcher was Dr. Ian Stevenson, a psychologist renowned for his research on reincarnation in children, turned his attention to the Pollock twins when their extraordinary experiences could no longer be dismissed as mere coincidence. In 1987, he documented their case in his book titled "Children Who Remember Previous Lives: A Question of Reincarnation," alongside 13 other instances of reincarnation, shedding light on the remarkable story of the Pollock girls. Stevenson expressed a preference for studying children in his research, as he believed that reincarnated adults were more susceptible to external influences and fantasy elements, such as those derived from books, movies, or even memories of relatives that they might incorporate into their own experiences. In contrast, children, according to Stevenson, displayed a higher degree of spontaneity and were less conditioned by external factors. As the Pollock twins reached the age of 5, a time often associated with the fading of reincarnated memories according to certain beliefs, their connection to their deceased sisters gradually dissipated as well. Eventually, their vivid recollections of their past lives disappeared entirely, as if they had never existed. Despite cutting ties with their past, Gillian and Jennifer, nearly 6 decades later, continue to cast a mysterious and enduring fascination that captivates people around the world. The Pollock case is not the only story about reincarnation memories in children. According to University of Virginia, there are many cases involving young children recalling past lives that exhibit striking accuracy in their statements about the deceased person's life and death. Some of these children even bear birthmarks and birth defects that correspond to the wounds or marks of the person they claim to remember, with post-mortem reports confirming these links in numerous instances. While older children may hold on to these apparent memories, they typically fade around the age of 7. Such cases have been documented worldwide, including in Europe and North America. Dr. Jim Tucker, currently the director of the Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia, has focused on American cases over the last 2 decades. His book, Return to Life, highlights prominent American cases like James Leninger, a young boy with verifiable past life memories of a World War II pilot, and Ryan Hammonds, who recalls being a Hollywood extra and talent agent with confirmed details. If you'd like to hear more about James and Ryan's stories, please give this video a like. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and turn notifications on for more enigmas, urban legends, and myths. See you on the next one.